You ever had one of those mornings where you open your front door and just like that, you're told, "This is my land now. You need to demolish your house." No. Well, let me tell you, it's a hell of a way to start your day. There I was standing in my own driveway, holding my cup of coffee still in my slippers, and here's Victoria Sterling, our shiny new HOA president, waving a stack of legal papers in my face like she's handing out coupons for free humiliation. I'd lived here 15 years on the same patch of dirt my granddad bought back in '52. My name's Bob Mitchell, but you can call me Bob. I'm 65, semi-retired, and I'd figured after 4 decades of land surveying I'd finally earned some peace. My days started slow. A stroll through the tomato patch, maybe a chat with my dog Coffee steaming in my hand. My wife's been gone 5 years now, so the plants kind of became my audience. Tuesday morning, I was watering those tomatoes, minding my own business, when I spotted something that made every hair on my neck stand up, a bright orange survey stake hammered right next to the old fence line. Now, you have to understand that's not the kind of thing that just shows up. I know those markers from a mile off. I went over, squatted down, took a look fresh. No question someone had pounded that stake in overnight. Tire tracks, muddy ruts, even a little grease mark on the grass. And nobody had called me. Nobody had knocked. Before I could even process what was happening, I hear that expensive engine purr. And in rolls, Victoria Sterling herself, fresh out of a BMW that probably cost more than my whole house. She gets out every inch of her screaming money hair, perfect navy suit sharper than a knife. "Good morning, Mr. Mitchell," she says with that tone, you know the one. Polite, but like she's already imagining me homeless. "We have some boundary issues that need immediate attention." I just point at the stake. "That got anything to do with your issues?" Her smile gets tight. Actually, yes. "We're reviewing property records and there's a discrepancy. We need to update the land records to reflect the actual legal boundaries." The way she said actual legal boundaries made me want to laugh and throw up at the same time. 40 years I did land surveying. I know when someone's about to try and steal your land using a bunch of paperwork. "What kind of discrepancy, Mrs. Sterling?" I ask. She hits me with, "Sometimes families pass down assumptions rather than facts." She let that sit in the air like a dare. You know, sometimes we have to accept that things aren't what we think they are. That's when I realized this wasn't about a mistake. This was a play. She'd built this ridiculous mansion right up against my property, her pool deck almost in my tomatoes. Now she's trying to push me off my own land. Oh, hell no. I spent the next hour digging out every document I ever owned. My grandfather's deed, old surveys, photos, even those black and white snapshots with my dad in short pants. I could feel the noose tightening even as I had all this evidence. It's a weird thing, the law. You think if you've got the paperwork, the world is simple. But you don't see the snake slithering around until someone with power decides to squeeze. The next morning, 3 more stakes appeared, lining up like soldiers marching right into my backyard, pointing straight at Victoria's place. Fresh footprints in the grass, muddy knee marks, even a flashlight beam circle in the dirt. These folks weren't amateurs, they were pros working while I slept. Then comes the letter. Heavy paper raised seal, a subject line reading "Mandatory property boundary verification required." It gave me 48 hours to respond, including the weekend when their office was closed. Classic move. Buy time, cut off your options. I called, no answer, just a message that Victoria would respond through official channels. Suddenly she's too busy to stop by unannounced. Next thing I know, surveyors show up in a white truck, hard hats, GPS gear, the whole 9 yards, not even bothering to knock. "We're here at the HOA's request, sir." When I asked for permits, they flashed a work order with Victoria's signature. I tell you, these guys weren't your usual crew. 3 days in and out, measuring every inch around her mansion and the border between our lots. When they finally left, the silence was worse than the noise. And sure enough, the next letter showed up, this one full-on legal attack, 15 pages, accusing me of trespassing. Using a survey from 1987 that I'd never seen referencing land, I was supposed to be squatting on the same tomato patch and shed I'd built with my own 2 hands. Oh, and there's a mandatory inspection scheduled with a non-refundable administrative fee due in 7 days. They didn't want a discussion. They wanted me boxed in. I tore my place apart that weekend looking for any trace of this '87 survey. Nothing. My grandfather kept records like a librarian on Adderall. Not a whisper about a county survey in 1987. But somehow the whole neighborhood was already talking. At the grocery store, folks wished me luck with the situation. I'd become the punchline at my own expense. Then a third letter, more official-looking paper with what sure as hell looked like county survey stamps, signatures, the works. At first glance, maybe it was real. But I looked closer. The paper was too new, the font computer-generated. And the kicker, the survey was dated after my grandfather died. His signature was there, but he'd been 6 feet under for a month by then. Somebody had faked it. Faked. That night, as I sat in my office piecing it all together, headlights crawled past my window. Not fast. Slow. They circled the block, came back. Somebody was watching me. Next morning, I found the brass survey cap from my front walk had been pried up dirt, still fresh. Someone knew exactly what to target. By then, I knew this wasn't just HOA muscle. This was orchestrated fraud. Victoria was gaming the system, tampering with boundaries, faking documents, leveraging her power to bully folks out of their land. And I wasn't the first. Turns out over the last few years, she'd quietly bought up a dozen parcels at below-market prices, all after nasty little disputes like mine. You want to know what finally pushed me from scared to mad when I realized she wasn't working alone? I dug into the fake survey and found a county seal that didn't even exist until 2022, laser-printed toner on the old paper. They'd even moved my boundary markers, shifting 2 stones a good 15 meters in. But the original iron pins, still right where they'd always been, hidden under the dirt, exactly as my grandfather had set them. Sunday night, I laid all the evidence out: photos, GPS data, a timeline from Google Earth, proof of Victoria's real estate buys, even a PI's photos of her vacationing with her lawyer at a 5-star resort. She wasn't just corrupt, she was bold. The day of reckoning came at the HOA's emergency community meeting, Victoria's stage, her moment to crush me in front of everyone. She had the screens, the graphs, the lost value charts, even the fake 87 survey, now supported by a handwritten confession from my dead grandfather. And people bought it, at least at first. But when it was my turn, I plugged my tablet into the projector and showed them what Papermate Inkjoy Gel ink looks like on a scan ink that didn't exist until 2006. I held up the pen and said, "My grandfather died in '87. This ink wasn't made for another 19 years. The gym went dead silent." I went on step by step, showing the markers being moved, the GPS logs, Victoria's own land buying spree, the photos of her and her lawyer hand in hand. The crowd turned. One neighbor after another fired off questions at Victoria. How many people did you do this to? Did HOA money pay for your vacations? Victoria tried to tough it out, but her lawyer bailed, and then icing on the cake, a sheriff's deputy rolled up and watched from outside. 3 weeks later, we were in court, the judge tearing through Victoria's story like wet tissue. I had a young attorney, Sarah Johnson, working pro bono, who brought in forensic ink analysis, digital metadata, soil science, the whole scientific arsenal. The judge called in the county supervisor right there in court, who broke under pressure and admitted everything faked records paid off Victoria, his business partner, $50,000 in bribes. It was, as they say, game over. Victoria's lawyers quit on the spot. The judge ordered my property restored, damages paid, and the case forwarded to the FBI for fraud investigation. The sheriff's crew tore down 30% of her mansion that had been built on my land, and Victoria was run out of the neighborhood broke, disgraced, her life in shambles. You'd think I'd feel victorious, but mostly I felt tired. So much damage for what? But here's where the story flips. Instead of bulldozing Victoria's leftover mansion, I used the settlement money to turn it into the Maplewood Community Center. We built a library, workshops, and a meeting space. The very house built on lies became a place for truth in the community. Yeah, even some of those who doubted me pitched in to rebuild what Victoria had nearly destroyed. Funny thing is, through all that anger and fear, what I found was connection. My neighbors came back. Old Mrs. Henderson showed up at my door one morning with an apple pie, crying, saying, "I'm sorry, Bob, I let her scare me." I forgave her, and in a weird way, Victoria too. Everyone deserves a second chance, even if they squander it. Now on Sunday afternoons, I walk past kids playing in the garden, old folks teaching each other chess under my grandfather's apple trees, teenagers helping seniors with their phones in the computer room. My land, it's not just mine anymore. It's ours. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I sleep easy. So I've got to ask, where do you stand on all this? What would you have done in my shoes? Was justice really served, or did it all go too far? Leave your thoughts below, because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that standing up for what's right matters. But standing together is what really saves you. And hey, If your HOA ever starts planting orange stakes in your tomatoes, maybe think twice before just ignoring them. You know what I mean?